Hello, and welcome to the second lesson in a series that helps musicians learn how to pray and meditate as they play. There's a strong improvising element to this, and for note readers, it can take a bit to transition. So if you would find it helpful by joining my email list, you can get access to the written chord chart and a scale that is written out, and the chords are written out as well. So many people find that helpful as they go along. One of the things that I've been trying to do is help beginning musicians feel the music much sooner than they would otherwise. Very often in classical training, for example, you might play for 3 or 4 years before you actually have this sense of feeling what the composer intended in the piece. And that's part of getting used to the vocabulary of music and being fluent with what you're speaking about. And to help people get there, I have put together some simple steps. Before we get to that, let me play the 8 measures that we're going to learn today. As I shared in the previous video, you can take a musical idea and go off the page, and when you're not worried about which notes you're playing, what order they come in, what order the chords happen in, when the chords happen, you can turn your attention to the expression. And I've developed a way of sharing that. So as an example, let me start with that music and then go off the page to give you a sense of how freeing it can be. Accomplished musicians will recognize that those are very familiar chords, and I do that intentionally so that I don't have to involve my brain with lots of technique, but I can focus on the expression part. So how would a beginning musician get into that? Well, the easiest way would be to play along with something, as opposed to trying to do it all by yourself. And the starting place for that can be as simple as 5 notes. So if I grab my fiddle here, tongue in cheek, the 6-figure instrument. Anyway, such is the life of a classical musician. So if I start with, say, 5 notes, and suppose I play twice as fast, you would have enough to play along with someone else. What I wanted to point out today, which I did not point out last time, this particular song, the melody is very pronounced. And so when you're playing your notes very close to a strong melody, they can kind of get in the way, particularly if it's really slow. However, when you're playing 8th notes in this case, or a smaller subdivision, faster notes, you can pass through the notes that conflict and get to notes that fit pretty much every other one if they don't both fit to start with. So I'll start by playing the recording, and I'll do slow on the violin, and you'll see that it's kind of clashes sometimes. You see? So sometimes, however, if I go twice as fast and then on purpose get out of the way a bit, do you see how it fits in between a little bit nicer? Now, a wise musician stays out of the way of a melody. So you can go lower or you can go higher. If you go higher, you'll have to be careful not to play too loud to dominate something that's below you. But if you go low and play fast, you can make it fit in really nicely. So the choices each time give you lots of opportunity. Now, most counter melodies don't plop, 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 plop all the time. There'll be long notes and they'll move between. If I move between and I give myself permission to play more notes, so the scale, so that's a 2-octave G scale. And if I give myself an opportunity to play long notes and move between, some really beautiful things can happen. So what happens when you start with a very simple vocabulary, you'll become comfortable with that and you'll start to add those long notes and slow notes. And based on the harmony around you, you can find your way with a considerable faster path than other ways to approach it. So before we leave this today, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a moment for the intermediate musicians and share with them the chords in this tune. So the chords are on the bottom line here. And on a piano, you take a chord like a G chord, G, B, D. Let me get the echo out of here. Right? And you rearrange it. So you might have a G down low. You might have a B in between. You might have a D close by. So by arranging that chord, it comes to life. On a guitar, it comes to life in a lot of different ways, but for most people in the beginning stage, that coming to life business is to finger the chord, right? Things like this. Right? So those guitar chords come in very handy for guitar players who are wanting to create an accompaniment, and the noodling around part is almost built into a guitar player's DNA. So briefly before we go, the chords. G chord, G, B, D. The E minor chord, E, G, B. The G chord with D in the bass, very close by, D, G, B. C chord, C, E, G. The A minor 7 chord, A, C, E, G, the G chord with B in the bass, B, D, G, the A minor chord with C in the bass, C, E, A, and then the D chord, D, F sharp, A. So for single line players, one of the ways to get around that, this is more intermediate, but it's okay to spend a little time with intermediate. So after you do your scale improvisation for a while, you start to itch for something else to do, and knowing the chords becomes important. So a single line player, your G chord, E minor, G over D, right? And then you start so you're accompanying and can pull from those chords, and instead of every other note working, you're going to be assured that every note that you play in that measure is going to fit as an accompaniment underneath. Make sense? So as you progress from a beginning stage to an intermediate stage, it is really valuable to know those chords and become familiar with them. So I hope you found this helpful. I'll look forward to catching up with you soon. We do these about once a week. And the website to grab that sheet music and the recording that I was playing with when I turned on the computer, you can grab that as well. So the sheet music and the recording is there, and this video. Also, if you happen to miss one of the lessons, you can grab the other ones. And it's all free. You just join the email list and you can get to it. The website is theschoolforcreativemusic.com. All one word. Thanks for joining me.